Hello everyone, and we are today we are studying the English verb. So first of all, chapter summary is learning to use the English verb correctly will be one of the most difficult tasks for you in learning to speak fluent English. We suggest that it will be much easier for you if you simultaneously learn all persons and tense of each new English verbs. Spoken English learned quickly include four kind of spoken verbs drill to help you learn the English verb quickly and correctly. Probably nothing marks someone struggling to learn English quite as much as improper use of English verb, person and tense. Therefore, as you study English, you will want to emphasize in learning to use the verb correctly as you speak. This will require specialized English verb drill. Spoken English learn quickly. Spoken English learn quickly place great emphasis on the English verb. It all but the first lesson. You will have special spoken drill which will help you learn to use the English verb correctly in all its persons and tense. A short introduction to verb drill. I started my French language instructions in a grammar based course. As I related early, I then moved to a school which emphasized spoken French. During my initial study, I was frustrated by learning only the present tense of a verb. Then, a week or two later, learning its past tense or future tense, only to come back to the same verb later to learn its subjunctive form. It would have been much more effective if I had learned each verb as a complete unit. The verb entire to be evolved into the list four verbs. First, I learned the present tense, later the past tense, and still later the future tense, and finally an entirely new verb called the subjective. It would have been much more effective for me to have learned one verb as a unit having four tense than to have learned four than to learn have four separate tense as through each was a newer. Of course, I am exaggerating. Yet, if you learn every tense and persons of each new verb simultaneously, it become a far simpler memory task. In addition, achieving full use of each verb as it is learned give greater initially command of a language. I said many things incorrectly for many months until I finally learned how to use the subjective. Then I wasted additional time retaining my friend in learning to use the subjective in place of times I had previously through I was using correctly. I spent more time learning and unlearning incorrect verb constructions than had I learned fewer verbs initially, but learn them in their entirety. There is, however, another equally forceful argument for learning all forms of the verb at one time. As I have taught the spoken English learn quickly course, I have discovered that in a relative few weeks of learning all new verbs in their entirety, an adult student with no previous English study is able to conjugate verb which they have never before encountered. I have experimented with this many times. I choose an obscure regular verb and find a student who does not know its meaning. Then I have the student conjugate it in all its persons and tense as a spoken drill. Only after they have successfully conjugated it do I tell them what it means. It is an amazing process to see. Spoken English was designed to be used as a self-study course. Most students study on their own. However, I have often conducted a weekly 2-hour group sessions as a means of encouraging the students. It is during the group sessions that I have used these spoken conjunction drill. I strongly encourage you to learn all form of each verb, the first tense, The first time you encounter it in your English study, the verb still become much more useful to you in a shorter period of time. The spoken English learned quickly course contain you very useful English verb drill. In traditional English language instructions, once a particular verb tense is supposedly learned, then it is assumed that the student know that key form and no longer need to review it. Yes, the student may be able to write the present tense form for many regular verbs, but they had it not the objective. Can they use all of those forms in spontaneous spoken English? In spoken English, learn quickly will do not stop the instructions merely because our students are able to write the ending of the certain verbs. Our goal is to help the student reach at a level of fluency in which they are use verbs in all of their tense and persons correctly in normal speech. That will also be our objective as you learn to speak English. Do not satisfy by simply learning verb tenses and persons in written form. You do not know a verb until you can use it fluently in spontaneous conversation. In spoken English learned quickly course, we try to follow the same pattern with other type of English word. It is far easier to learn big, bigger, and biggest, and angry, angrier, angriest, and angrily as a coordinate group. Then, then it is to learn them as individual vocabulary words. Not only is it easier to remember bad words badly as a group, but the meaning is better understood because they are logically related to each other. The greatest advantage, however, is that this method teacher students how to English language is developed. When जब students know biggest, they can then develop the word tallest. If they know only the word tall, the real essence of language fluency is understanding the language well enough to intuitively use new vocabulary during actual conversation. All of the above comment related to spoken language. You may find it helpful to organize words in table form, but you must learn to use the word in the context of spoken language, not merely written table. 4 type of verbs.